Let's take it back. Usually when you would go to a record shop, you browse around, maybe ask the clerk for some recommendations, and then listen to them and decide what you want to purchase. Some record labels would go on to earn the trust of their audience, so much so that when you saw a new release from that label, you'd buy it without even listening to it. When you think about labels from the 90s that encapsulated this trust, Hooj Choons is one of the first labels that comes to mind. But how did Hooj Choons earn the underground's trust? There's not much written on the origin, but thanks to the Progressive House Classics blog, we can look at this article from DJ Mag in 1999. Hooj Choons was founded in 1990 by Alex Simons, who was an accountant to some of London's top DJs, including Pete Tong, Nicky Holloway, and Trevor Nelson. In partnership with Simons was Phil Howells, who would go on to leave and work for Pete Tong's FFRR Records. But before he left, he brought his friend Jeremy Dickens on to help out. You might know him better by his alias Red Jerry. Now within a few years, Simons and Howells would be out, and Jerry would be the one running the show. But before that, Howells would perhaps make his greatest contribution to Hooj. Actually, it was his girlfriend who came up with the famous Hooj Man, a crayon-like stick man that ventures through the world with a smile on his face, always ready for the next adventure. On the earliest releases, the Hooj stick man can be seen doing various activities, like playing guitar or dancing around. But on Hooj 002 and Hooj 015, we are introduced to the logo that would become synonymous with the label, the Hooj Man on the decks DJing. The record covers adopted a formula that became consistent. The artist on the top over a white stripe, the title of the track just below it, with a little Hooj Man at the bottom. The B-side of the actual record would include the information of the track, and the A-side of the record would include a special Hooj Choons logo with the Hooj Man often doing an activity related to the title of the track. Filled with the same enthusiasm for life that the Hooj Man displayed, Red Jerry epitomized the character and soul of his label. He's often described as authentic and honest. He's a label owner, but he's also a producer who's put out awesome records, like his remix of Hyperlogic's Only Me, his Smack That Bigot Up remix of Solarstone's Day by Day, or his long dubby vocal remix of Miro's Paradise. Just a few of the many Red Jerry productions we will come across in this video. And to be completely honest, before writing this video, I knew Red Jerry as the Hooj Choons boss, but I really had no idea how prolific he was as a producer and remixer. And on top of that, he's also DJ'd Hooj compilations like Deeper Shades of Hooj Volume 3. So what was Red Jerry's secret sauce as a label head? How did he make Hooj Choons stand out among the rest? Rich Moet, better known as Solarstone, breaks down Jerry's X Factor. Jerry had an uncanny ability to forecast what was next in the scene and had a great team around him. He probably helped to shape what DJs were playing more than any other dance label boss. The first Hooj release was 1990's Carnival de Casa by the Rio Rhythm Band, and the first few releases on Hooj would do well, both in sales and in the impact they would have on the dance floor over the label's first 2 years. But it was Felix's Don't You Want Me in 1992 that would provide Hooj its first big break. It samples the vocals of Jomanda's Don't You Want My Love, and was actually written by Jerry and Rolo of Faithless when they reworked a demo submitted by someone named Dr. Drum. Where Felix's Don't You Want Me sounds authoritative, redemptive, and commanding, Red Jerry and JX's mix of 1994's Son of a Gun is unconsciously euphoric and probably served as the soundtrack to thousands of clubbers' first elevated experiences, at least based on the stories shared in the comments and reviews of that record. From Carnival de Casa to Don't You Want Me to Son of a Gun, you can see how even in its first 5 years, Hooj Choons was not to be defined by one sound, but rather defined as the next sound. As club culture matures and producers push forward, Hooj's sound sophisticates. Releases like 1996's This Love by Red Sun, aka Red Jerry, showcased a more explorative and layered trance sound and was included on Paul Oakenfold's Perfecto Fluoro mix compilation. Now, I want to pause here because I think Hooj Choons enters its golden era as the mix compilation becomes increasingly prevalent in underground dance music culture. take a look at Paul Oakenfold's 1997 Global Underground New York mix. On CD 1 alone, Paul includes Red Jerry's remix of Solarstone's Day by Day, Nayland and Kane's remix of Every Time by Lustral, Red Jerry's long dubby vocal mix of Miro's Paradise, and then finally 3 drives on vinyl's Grease 2000. And that's just one CD of one mix compilation. The same year, Lost Tribe's Angel was included in Northern Exposure 2 by Sasha and John Digweed. Global Underground 9 in San Francisco included Medway's Resurrection and Tilt's Resurrection mix of their track I Dream, which closed out Disc 2. On the following Global Underground, Danny Tenaglia kicked off CD 2 of his famous GU10 in Athens mix with Tilt's Seduction of Orpheus, also released on Hooj. You can see a trend. Hooj releases music by the artists who are on the forefront of the underground sound, like Tilt, which was made up of Mick Park, Michael Wilson, and John Graham, aka Quiver, and then the top DJs like Sasha and Danny Tenaglia were choosing these records to be included in their mix compilation albums. Another track to mention is Quiver's remix of Pete Lazenby's Sacred Cycles, which kicked off Dave Seaman's GU16 in Cape Town. Hooj was dealing product that the underground couldn't get enough of. Look at Hooj 097, Hooj 97, by another Mick Park alias Kilohertz, honoring the address of the famous Manhattan club Twilo. This record was released in 2000 and was included on all of the following mix compilations: Seb Fontaine's Cream Resident, Steve Lawler's Home, Dave Seaman's Renaissance Awakenings, and Sasha and John Digweed's Communicate, all in the year 2000. So, in answering why the underground trusted Hooj Choons so much, I think the answer is actually beyond the fact that they released great music, even though that's the most important thing. The main thing I learned from writing this video is this: Red Jerry is special. He's a class label head, producer, and DJ, so it just makes sense that he was the man in the middle of this web, connecting the world's most forward-thinking DJs and producers at the forefront of the underground sound. He was always listening and looking for what was next, and because of this, he pushed the underground sound forward in all different directions. I think that record buyers began to trust that with Hooj, you would get something in fresh and different while retaining quality. You didn't even need to hear it before you bought it. I just wanted to include this cool bit of information regarding Red Jerry's favorite Hooj releases. When asked to choose his 5 favorites, Jerry selected Danny Tenaglia's Datar B, LSG's Fragile Part 2, Andronicus's Make You Whole, Nayland and Kane's Beach Ball, and Energy 52's Cafe Del Mar. If I had to choose my own favorite, it would be from another John Graham alias, Space Maneuvers, and that track is Stage 1, which was the second track on Sasha and John Digweed's Northern Exposure 3 Expeditions. Now, when I was thinking about making this video, I asked the super progressive community what their favorite Hooj Choons release was, and the overwhelming response actually inspired me to go and make this video. And I just want to say thank you so much for helping me make this video.